Beside direct absolute coordinate setting, we can also perform relative movement. They can be either a translation along any possible direction in space or a rotation around the user-defined axis and pivot point. First, the final destination is computed as the endpoint of a trajectory which starts from the present HexAnt configuration and follows a path which depends both on the chosen coordinate and on the orientation of the movement reference frame. And then the command is sent as for the absolute movement. So for each movement, the first thing we have to do is select the frame with respect to which the movement is computed. We can choose between a reference frame which is fixed to the HexAnt base or a frame which is fixed to the moving platform. You can switch here. So we set the frame coordinates in the usual way. We can press edit, then cancel or OK. We can restore the default. Defaults for the fixed frame are the coordinates of the base itself, while for the moving frame, as default, it coincides with the platform frame. So once we set the frame coordinate, we can select the coordinate we want to move. We can set a displacement. Let's try here. Okay, and then go. And we can see the movement. Get back to the normal. The apparently complex structure of this command is actually the main responsible for its versatility. We can do a lot of things with this command. For instance, if we want to translate along a diagonal direction, we can set the movement reference frame so that one of its axes coincides with the desired direction. Let's use, for instance, the fixed frame, edit, and change it here. Okay. Then we can select the coordinates we want to write, which represent the axis of translation. We set the value, which is OK, and go. So the system is moving, and now we can get back to one. If you select an angular coordinate, you can either perform a pure rotation or a rototranslation, depending on whether or not the pivot point, which is the origin of the movement frame, coincides with the platform frame or not. So, for instance, if we want to set a pivot point above the platform, we can modify this one. Let's see, edit again, put this value. Okay, we can try to rotate around Y. Let's do like that. Sorry. And go. So we can see this roto translation. Then we can do also the other way. And now get back to all. Okay. Now, still in default here. Okay. Now, if we want, for instance, to perform a pure rotation, we can select the moving frame, which as default coincide with the platform frame, just keeping the default settings. Keep the Y coordinates. Let's change like this. Oh, okay. Let's see what happens. It should rotate like this. The moving frame option is also useful if, for instance, you want to translate along the platform direction, as we can see here. Let's keep this like this and go. And now go to the on position. With the absolute movement command, we saw that whenever an out-of-range destination was requested, a pop-up appeared and the movement was cancelled. In this case, the situation is slightly different. In fact, if I set a destination which is out of range, let's try doing that. Okay, for instance, this one. It will appear a pop-up which will ask you if you want to cancel the movement or if you want to go to the maximum available displacement in that direction. Let's try that. Okay, so you see the inserted step is not allowed. Let's do the movement. And then get back to the home. Of course, you can exploit this functionality to explore the movement range. For example, you can set a huge displacement, choose a direction, and then you can see which is the maximum allowed step for that direction. Anyway, we suggest to avoid movement which are very close to the workspace limits. In general, we prefer to offer an HexAnt solution which is specifically tailored on customer requirement so that it doesn't need to go to the very limits.